Okay, so we have, this is for relief printing. Relief printing is like when you create a stamp. So what we have here is we have our printing station. So we have a spot, this is our inking plate, and this is where we will actually make the print. We have our relief printing ink. We have what's called a Baron, a palette knife, and a brayer, B-R-A-Y-E-R. And then we have our printing block. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with putting some of the ink on the plate. I'm going to use a palette knife to put some of the ink on the plate. I'm going to use a little bit more ink the first time I put it on the plate. And notice I'm putting the lid back on the container so it doesn't dry out the ink. And the palette knife that has ink on it, I'm putting the ink part on the inking plate and the handle off. For the brayer, you're going to spread out the ink. It's important not to just go back and forth. You're going to need to go forward, lift up, and then you're going to go sideways and do the same. And so I'll show you guys that real quick. So when you're inking it, otherwise the ink will not spread out. And you're going to start to hear that noise. It's going to sound kind of like Velcro or cooking bacon. So once you get that noise, you want to stop rolling out the ink, because if you just keep playing with it, it's going to dry it out and then it won't make a good print. So once I have that, and I just held it this way for you guys to see, but it stays right here. I have my block, so I'm going to carefully add ink to the block. Notice how I'm turning and rolling in different directions. That's going to make sure I get ink all over the whole thing. And I don't want to roll really fast, because when you roll off the block fast, it's going to make a mark on the printing station. If you get ink on here, you're going to probably get ink on your hands, on your materials, and then on your prints, and you're going to have to redo your prints. So once I have ink on the plate, notice again I'm putting the ink of the brayer on the inking plate, and the handle is off of it so we don't get ink on the handle. So the printing station, you will see that we already have some lines drawn on here. This is the size of your final paper, so what your edition will be printed on. That is so you can center it and place it where you want it to be. So you would place your print, your block, wherever you would like it to print on the paper, and then you could line up your paper with the edge. You want to keep it held down, and then you would drop it on top of the block. Okay? So instead of showing you the actual edition, though, I'm going to show you with a test print paper. Test print paper is the regular 8.5 by 11 copy paper that's at the front of the room. So for a test print, it does not matter if it's centered. All you're doing is seeing what the block looks like on the paper. So I'm going to go ahead and show you this. So I'm just going to set it down. I touch it once to get the ink to stick to the paper, and this is where I use the Baron. I don't press really hard, because if I press hard, remember this stuff is soft and it'll blur your image and the ink if you do that. So I just want to make sure that I'm putting a little bit of pressure, and I'm going in different directions to make sure I can get the whole block. Once you do that, you're going to pull the paper up, and this is actually called pulling a print, because you have to pull it off of the block. So now you guys can see the print, and so hopefully this will make a little bit more sense. Now when the areas that you've carved out are the white areas that are on here. One thing you'll notice about this one is the marks really aren't that deep, and they still show up on your block, so you do not need to carve that deep. Okay? So you will do a test print. Remember what we said is just so you can see what the block looks like. How many tests? So what you need to do is you do as many test prints as you need to get the design correct. So if I didn't like something, I would go wash off the block, dry it off, carve out some more, and then do another test print. You do that cycle as many times as you need to until you look at your test print and you that's exactly what you want your final to look like. Okay?